Since 2015, Jared Stillman has rocked Nashville sports.
That team freaking stinks.
And now he's back. The takes are hotter than ever.
I mean, let's be honest, he just can't coach.
Welcome to Stillman and Company.
Stillman and Company on the 440 Sports Network, presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical here today on the program. Of course, not only are we presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, we are on YouTube at Stillman & Co. So like and subscribe. And of course, we are wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to hit that comment section below. Be sure to give it the like. Be sure to give it a little subscribe if you're not subscribed. Now, it is a Hot Take Friday. Before we get going, I do want to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. And I am not starting, let me just say this. I am not starting today's show on what Sam Darnold did last night on Thursday Night Football. For all the people out there that are like, oh, God, here you go, Sam Darnold, you never shut up. I am not starting the show on that, though it will be discussed. Let's talk Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They take great care of my home, and they can do the exact same for you. They've been in business since 1990. They are family-owned and operated with 100% satisfaction. Of happy you'll be, the service is free. If a customer is not pleased with the work performed, my friends at Hiller will make it right. Learn more by visiting happyhiller.com. I use Hiller at my home. They do a great job. Professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians who come into your home and leave it clean and better than they found it. Hiller, proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Vanderbilt Commodores, and the Tennessee Volunteers. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today. Okay. I want to start with the game on Sunday. I think the Titans are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. I just want to say that. I just want to put that out there. I just want everybody to know. Every year, on the Monday of the week that training camp has started, every year since 2016, on that Monday, I have done a official Titans expectations show. So that way, when we talk about what the Titans should be doing all throughout the course of the year, you know, what do we think they're going to be? Do we think they're going to be a good team? Do we think they're going to be a bad team? That is the line of demarcation. The Monday of which training camp starts. Training camp usually starts on a Wednesday, and they usually hit the field on a Thursday or a Friday. And so I always want to be on the record on that Monday. It really is a way to kind of eliminate a day, to say, okay, we're going to set our official Titan expectations. And so there's a day in July where not a lot's going on and football's right around the corner. So that's why I do it. But if you're used to me and you're used to my program, you know, every year we split up the Titan schedule on the Monday of training camp into 5 separate categories: will win, should win, toss-up games, should lose, will lose. And that's what sets our official expectations for the season. We take the would wins, or the will wins and the should wins, and we put that in there as wins. We take the will loses and the should loses, and we put that over there as losses, and then we split the toss-ups, and that's what sets our expectations. I believe our expectations for this season were 4 Titan victories. And it looks like for the third year in a row, the Titans will hit the under. Actually, probably the 4th year in a row that they'll hit the under. But every year when we do that, there is always a game that is a firm will lose in July that somehow, some way, the Titans find a way to win. For instance, and I just did this off the top of my head today, 2016 when I started doing this, Denver at home. That was the defending Super Bowl champions. And yes, Peyton Manning had retired, but they had that great defense. And the Titans were the defending number 1 pick team in the NFL. And they beat the defending champions at home. That was a game that in July, nobody thought they were going to win. 2017, they beat Russell Wilson, and they beat the Seattle Seahawks at home. 2018, they beat the 2 teams, Philadelphia and New England, who had played in the Super Bowl the year before. 2019, they beat Kansas City at home. 2020, they went on the road to Baltimore, where we all thought Baltimore was going to avenge the playoff loss, and Derrick Henry went ham. 2021, they beat Kansas City at home. They beat the Rams on the road. 2022, Thursday Night Football at Lambeau Field, they went to Green Bay, 2-time defending NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay had a down year that year, but we didn't think the Titans were going to win that game. 2023, they beat Cincinnati at home. Cincinnati had been to the AFC title game 2 years in a row. The Titans were 7-10. They beat Cincy at home. And last year, they went on the road to Houston, who the defending AFC South champions who had made it all the way to the divisional round of the playoffs. CJ Stroud looked like a franchise quarterback, and they beat the Texans some way, somehow. So every year, the Titans win a game that in July, nobody thinks they're going to win. This year, they beat Cleveland, which was a toss-up game, and they beat Arizona, which I assume was a toss-up game because I have never liked Kyler Murray. Those were absolutely not, when the schedule came out, those were absolutely not games that we'd look at and we'd say, oh yeah, they'll for sure lose to Cleveland. This one was. Kansas City, the 3-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, at home. Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones, Andy Reid. There's no way in July that you or I thought the Titans were going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs at Nissan Stadium. And so not only are the Titans due for their annual game in July nobody thought they would win, but then there's the Kansas City element of this. The reality. No Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce is absolutely cooked. I think that Travis Kelce's got 3 more games in him, and he's done. And he rides off into the sunset with Taylor Swift, and who knows where Travis Kelce goes from there. Travis Kelce could become the next international superstar. He could become the next Kevin Federline. I don't know. They're eliminated from the playoffs, which, again, they never have been under Andy Reid. Christmas is in 4 days. Now, they play on Christmas, and I bet they're just real happy about that. But again, when you get around Christmas time, there are distractions. Family comes in town, especially when your focus probably isn't on the game. A meaningless game with no playoff implications, with no Patrick Mahomes against the crummy, crappy Titans. If there ever was a time for the Kansas City Chiefs to throw in the towel, it would be this game. I looked up the map as far as where this game was going to be shown. There are 2 mid-American markets, mid-sized markets, that are getting this game, Titans, Kansas City. There's Kansas City, and there's Nashville. Now, everything that connects Kansas City to Nashville is also getting the game, but those are all smaller markets. This game's not going to be on in New York. It's not going to be on in LA. It's not going to be on in Dallas. It's not going to be on in Phoenix or Houston or Atlanta or DC or the bigger cities around the country. So, again, how often do the Kansas City Chiefs play this kind of game? Even in the past, when Kansas City has come to little old Nashville and played the Titans, even if it's been a noon kickoff, they've brought Jim Nantz and Tony Romo with them. Not this week. And here's the unfortunate part of the Titans winning on Sunday. If the Titans win, which again, I think the Titans are going to win on Sunday. I think Kansas City has nothing to play for. If they win, according to the New York Times playoff predictor, as of today, the Titans have a 16% chance of earning the number 1 overall pick. If they win on Sunday, the Times playoff predictor gives them a less than 1% chance of getting that number 1 pick in 2026. If they lose, the odds of them getting the number 1 pick go all the way up to 26%. If they lose out, they have a 57% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. And the truth is, the Titans need the number 1 pick in the 2026 draft. It's just a simple supply and demand issue. There are about 6 teams that are looking towards the future at the quarterback position in the NFL. The New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Arizona Cardinals, the Miami Dolphins, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are all for sure looking to the future at quarterback. Now, that doesn't mean that all 6 of those teams are going to fall in love with Fernando Mendoza, but there's a pretty good chance that one of those 6 will. And right now, there are 3 guys that could potentially go in the first round at the quarterback position. But we don't know if two of those guys, Dante Moore at Oregon, Ty Simpson at Alabama, we don't know if they're going to declare for the draft. So as of right now, what we all know is there's going to be one quarterback at the top of the draft that is for sure coming out, and it is Fernando Mendoza, and a combination of those 6 teams will have to fight with whoever gets the number 1 pick, if that's you, in order to get that quarterback. And look, I know some people out there don't believe that you should ever root for your team to lose, and that's a really nice sentiment. But that's not the reality of the NFL. The NFL does not have a draft lottery. So losing does equal getting the top pick. This is not hockey. This is not basketball. The reality is it's a bad thing that they lost to Cleveland. There's not going to be anything positive that they took out of that game. We saw last week at San Francisco. It's not like they've taken a huge step forward because they won the Cleveland game. These coaches that won that game are all going to get fired. It's not like they got any extra confidence because they won that game. That win at Cleveland was bad for the Titans. So I don't live in this reality where I can't admit how crucial losing out and getting the number 1 pick is for the Tennessee Titans. Because they have to fix this heinous roster. And I think we can all agree on that. And they neglected doing so last year when they just had to pick Cam Ward. So they've got to get the top pick, and they have to spin it into multiple first-round picks, and then they have to get several other top 100 and several other top 60 picks. And now here's the tough part. You can't tell the players and coaches to lose on purpose. Some teams do that. They don't tell the coach to lose on purpose, but they tell the coach to lose on purpose. Miami and the Jets are examples of this. Quinn Ewers is starting in Miami over Tua and Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's not even happy about it. He's been the backup all year. And somehow Quinn Ewers is getting the start now. What's going to happen is Miami will say, well, we got to get a look at Quinn Ewers. But the truth is, they're playing the quarterback that gives them the least chance to win the rest of the year. And the Jets are starting Brady Cook, an undrafted rookie out of Missouri, over Tyrod Taylor. Again, you can't tell the players and coaches to lose on purpose, but you can tell them to play Brady Cook. That did backfire last year, though, for the Patriots, who benched Drake May in the last week of the season for Joe Milton, and they ended up winning, and the Titans ended up getting the number 1 pick. Damn you, Joe Milton, making the Titans pick Cam Ward. The hard part for me, and I say hard because, again, I want the Titans to lose. And I think you should want the Titans to lose too. The hard part for me is I just don't see what Kansas City has to play for on Sunday. A majority of the Kansas City roster was in the Super Bowl last year. They've spent every single week of the season playing at 325 in front of Jim Nantz or Tom Brady or on Sunday Night Football. And now Gardner Minshew is starting at quarterback versus the lowly Titans on the road at noon on CBS. This is the equivalent of a preseason game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And so I just don't see how Kansas City would get up for the game on Sunday. Then I look at the Titans, and I'm like, I absolutely can see how the Titans would get into this game, because even though the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs, and they certainly are not the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes, and they have nothing to play for, the Titans players like Jeffrey Simmons and the coaching staff, they will take beating the Chiefs like they beat the Chiefs, which means the Titans will want to win this game more than Kansas City will. And just the desire to want to win most games, like last night's Thursday Night Football game, the Rams and the Seahawks, most games have that, both teams want it equally. I'll never forget Game 7 of the World Series in 2016. There was a rain delay. And Frank Thomas on the Fox set was like, it all comes down to who wants it more. Like, Frank, it's game 7 of the World Series. I think both teams want it pretty badly. But in this case, I actually think the Titans will want it more than Kansas City. And that's a very powerful thing in football. And that is why I think the Titans are going to win. And if the Titans win on Sunday, it is almost a certainty that they will pick number 3 in the draft. And if there are 2 quarterbacks in this year's draft, and we don't know if Dante Moore's going to come out or not, but if there are 2 quarterbacks in this draft, if you're picking 3rd, both QBs will be off the board. And then you'll be stuck at 3, and you won't be able to trade out. And instead, you'll have to take Avril Reese out of Ohio State, who I guess is an inside backer, but they say he's an off-ball linebacker in the NFL, kind of like Micah Parsons. Or Jordan Tyson, the top receiver in the country, out of Arizona State. But you only get one of those guys. And that's fine. But if they take Avril Reese, then who's going to be the wide receiver that they desperately need for Cam Ward? If they take Jordan Tyson, who are they going to get to rush the quarterback? Because we know they desperately need a high-impact edge rusher. And it's just so depressing. Because coming into the year, if you told me that the Titans were going to beat the Chiefs, I would say, wow, maybe I was wrong about that Cam Ward. But instead, it's, wow, Kansas City has fallen off. Poor Mahomes tears his ACL. And depressingly, I am picking the Titans to win on Sunday. And unfortunately, I think that is going to really hurt their draft status. Now, don't go anywhere because I do have a draft development with the Titans that I want to get to, but happy Hot Take Friday to the Sam Darnold haters out there. Ho, ho, ho. How about Thursday Night Football last night? Santa Sam came down the chimney. And the Rams and all you haters like TDG all ended up with coal in their stockings. How does it feel? Boy, I had fun watching the game last night. Oh, I had so much fun watching Thursday Night Football last night. I told you at the end of the show yesterday, I said, if Seattle wins this game against the Rams, then that will tell us that Seattle is every bit the Super Bowl contender that anybody else is. I know the Rams had lost to Carolina, but I looked at the Rams as the most complete team, the most consistent team, the best, quarterback team, and the most well-coached team. That combination of all of it. Because while I guess Josh Allen's better than Stafford, I certainly think McVay is better than Sean McDermott. So I think the Rams are the best team in the NFL. And the Rams went toe-to-toe with the Seahawks in the first game. Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. If they can win this game, that will prove that they can beat anybody in the NFL. And we all know about the playoff implications. As of right now, all roads go through Seattle. So I said yesterday, if Seattle wins this means Seattle can win the Super Bowl. And if Sam Darnold wins the fucking Super Bowl, you people will never hear me shut up about it. And look, I am a believer in intellectual honesty, even though sometimes I see it all the time. Jared Stillman's just rage baiting. Jared Stillman's just doing it for clicks. Jared Stillman, I know. But I really believe in intellectual honesty. Part of me thinks it's because I grew up well off, that I never felt like I was beholden to an employer or to somebody else in power, or I never felt like I had to compromise my values in order to make a buck. Not everybody else is that way. And again, there are some very powerful people in this world in the media that have kissed a lot of ass to get where they are. And I'm not above kissing ass, but I just am not going to compromise what I believe in. And so I don't lie when it comes to my opinions about sports. I'm very passionate about them. And I sometimes am a little performative when it comes to explaining it. Again, this is a show after all. But I don't lie. I never claimed that Sam Darnold was Tom Brady, even when I spent all offseason just banging the table for the Tennessee Titans to sign Sam Darnold. I mean, I actually begged the Titans to sign him. Like Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, they know that Jared Stillman was adamant that they needed Sam Darnold. Again, legitimately telling the people who make these decisions, go sign Sam Darnold. When I was doing all of that, I didn't think he was Brady or Marino or Elway. I didn't even think he was Justin Herbert when I was doing that. I thought he was Alex Smith. And I thought Sam Darnold was exactly what this organization needed. A true multi-year bridge quarterback that the Titans needed to build their team around. And then after 3 years or so of Sam Darnold, if you found a young quarterback you loved that you could go get to eventually replace Sam Darnold, a la Alex Smith and Mahomes, go do it. And even right now, I still think Sam Darnold has his limitations and is not perfect. But last night, Sam Darnold shut a lot of you people up. And I have to admit, I was sitting there watching the interception Sam Darnold threw, and I was disgusted as if it was my own child that threw those interceptions thinking, oh, God, Sam. One was essentially a pick six. The other was right there around the goal line to a defensive lineman, and I thought, oh, God, Sam. Oh, God, the Rams really are his kryptonite. I felt watching the game last night. It reminded me of the old Pedro Martinez line. If you remember this, in 2004, Martinez lost Game 7 to the Yankees in 2003 in the ALCS. If you remember that, Pedro wasn't the losing pitcher because the game went to extra innings, but the Red Sox had a lead. Grady Little came out, wanted to ask Pedro, do we need to go to the bullpen? Pedro said, no, leave me in, and Pedro gave up the lead. The next year, Pedro gets beaten, I believe at Fenway Park, by the Yankees in September. And Pedro just said, I don't know what to do except tip my hat and call the Yankees my daddy. And Pedro got beaten Game 2 of the ALCS. Now, remember, the Red Sox came back from down 0-3 in that ALCS. And the Yankee Stadium crowd started chanting, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? And so I'm watching the game last night. I am well aware of what happened in the playoffs last year against Minnesota. I am well aware of the 4 interceptions Sam threw earlier this year. And I'm watching Sam throw the ball to the Rams, and I'm thinking, man, this is his kryptonite. I mean, we just need to admit it. The Rams are his daddy. And he's beaten all these other NFC teams this year, but he just cannot beat the LA Rams. And every time he threw an interception, my Twitter blew up last night of people being like, just like we always thought. TDG, fool's gold Darnold, every time. But the game wasn't over. And yes, Sam Darnold needed the Rashid Shaheed punt return. And Sam Darnold needed that Fakakta 2-point conversion where they picked the ball up in the end zone. Now, I actually think Seattle still would have had a shot because they got the ball late in regulation and could have gone down the field, kick a field goal, whatever. But again, it happened. They needed that weird 2-point conversion that was pure luck. But Sam Darnold threw the touchdown pass that essentially tied the game. And then, going mano-a-mano with Matthew Stafford, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, probably this year's league MVP. Stafford scores a touchdown in overtime. Darnold gets the ball, scores a touchdown in overtime. I was saying as the Rams were punching the ball into the end zone, Seattle's got to go for 2. And you know me, I'm not a big believer in that go for 2. I think ties are not a bad thing in the NFL. But in this case, a tie would be bad because the Rams already had the first matchup in hand. So Seattle had to win this game. A tie was as bad as a loss for Seattle. So as soon as the Rams scored, I said they need to go for 2. Seattle does. Sam Darnold, beautiful throw on the sideline to Cooper Kupp. Sam Darnold, touchdown. Sam Darnold, 2-point conversion. I jumped out off the couch when Seattle won the game last night. And Lindsay was asleep. Well, I actually think Lindsay was watching the game in bed, which is something because, Lindsay is not a football person. Jackson was asleep. He went to sleep at 7 o'clock. He was asleep. Lindsay's parents are in town. They were downstairs. They were asleep. And he throws the touchdown pass and he completes the 2-point conversion. I jump off the couch and I'm like, oh, but I can't yell loud because I don't want to wake everybody up. And I told Lindsay this morning, I said, if this were 2 years ago and I was still living in my old house and there was no baby and there was no grandparents and there was no Lindsay, I would have been like a guy on the Maury Povich show who just found out that he was not the father. I told you guys, Sam Darnold, fuck you. In fact, I sent out a tweet in all caps that I was like, you Sam Darnold, you bad fucking boy, you, that's my quarterback. Like Terrell Owens, that's my quarterback. I was so happy last night. And I loved it. Easton Freeze was talking shit on Twitter during the game, and I was like, Jeff Schwartz, who, by the way, I know Jeff Schwartz has a lot of followers and does a lot of podcasts and does a lot of media stuff. I didn't really know Jeff Schwartz until I started working with him a couple months ago on Sirius. I love the guy. He and I have done like 5 or 6 shows together, and I think we have a great relationship. He's been on this show before. I love Jeff Schwartz. Jeff Schwartz was talking shit all night about Sam Darnold. And so I went right to him, and I was like, well, folks, mama is wrong again. I was so excited. What a roller coaster of a night. First of all, instant classic game. That is when we get Thursday night football and we get some duds, every now and then there is a baby like that one. And that was a great game. It was an entertaining game, high stakes, good teams. It was a lot of fun. Well-coached teams. But here's the thing. Sam Darnold did 3 very big things last night. Number 1, Sam Darnold won a huge game with huge playoff implications. And he did it when he was not at his best. The reality about sports is not everybody's going to have a perfect game every day. You hear baseball pitchers talk about this all the time, how they'll go to the bullpen and they'll get ready for a game and they'll be like, I've got my good stuff today. Sometimes they'll be out there in the first inning, and this is a Hall of Fame type pitcher who's like, my curveball's not sharp. My fastball doesn't have a lot of life. I'm going to have to manage today. Some way, somehow. I'm going to have to go out there and give us 6 2/3 and give us a chance to win, but I don't have my best stuff today. Sam Darnold did not have his best stuff last night. That interception that he threw that was essentially a pick 6, that guy was standing right there in the window. I don't know what Sam was looking at. Might have been seeing ghosts or something. I don't know. But this was a huge game with huge playoff implications against a very good team, if not the best team in the NFL. And he did it when he didn't have his best stuff. Now, I know everybody always chalks up anything Sam Darnold does to a reason of circumstance. Like, oh, no. The reason Sam Darnold won that game, Jared, is because he has Jackson Smith and Jigba, or he's on this incredible Seahawks team, which, by the way, didn't make the playoffs last year, or whatever excuse you want to make up. That's fine. The LA Rams, in my opinion, are the best team in the NFL. And at the end of the game, when you're down by multiple scores in the fourth quarter, that game's on the quarterback. When you've got to have a touchdown and got to have a 2-point conversion, that game's on the quarterback. And so even without his best stuff last night, Sam Darnold won a huge game with huge playoff implications. That's the first thing he did. The second thing he did that I think is very important is Sam Darnold overcame his LA Rams demons, which absolutely were real until the fourth quarter last night. Again, it was like Pedro Martinez and the Yankees. After 3 quarters last night, Sam Darnold should have tipped his cap and called Chris Shula and Sean McVay his daddy because they owned him. And yet, Sam found a way to win. That playoff game last year was a total train wreck for Sam Darnold. I think that game probably cost Sam Darnold somewhere around $40-50 million. I mean, I think the Minnesota Vikings would have put the franchise tag on Darnold, and so he would have been looking at a $40 million salary this year, not a $37 million salary this year. But his deal with the Seahawks is essentially 3 years and $100 million. And I think if Sam had won that LA Rams game in the playoffs last year, he would have signed a not top of the market $50-60 million contract, but somewhere around that when he were to have come free this year. And then that first LA Rams game, Sam Darnold was a favorite for league MVP when they played that first game against the LA Rams. And he threw 4 interceptions. And regardless of the fact that the game came down right to the wire and the Seahawks, in spite of the 4 interceptions, could have won the game and missed a field goal, all anybody remembered was, there goes Sam Darnold again, playing the Rams, and there's Sam Darnold against a good team, and once again, Sam Darnold can't show up against the LA Rams. And if the Seahawks had lost last night after those 2 heinous interceptions that Sam Darnold threw, if that had happened, that's the narrative of this game. Man, Seattle's got a Super Bowl team, but Darnold cannot carry them across the finish line. Well, right now, again, I think the best team in the NFL is the LA Rams. Even after last night, I think the best team is the Rams. I, in my head, cannot see Denver winning the Super Bowl. I cannot see Bo Nix hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. I don't think I could see the Patriots. I think they're too early in Drake May's career to win the Super Bowl. Buffalo, I don't think, is very well coached. Houston's got a great defense. I'm not sure they have a very good offense. I mean, I can see an AFC team winning the Super Bowl, but I think the favorite has to be an NFC team. And in the NFC, there's really, 3 teams where you can look at and say there's not a serious flaw with this team? Chicago's had a nice year, but do we really think Caleb Williams is going to win the Super Bowl? Green Bay doesn't have Micah Parsons anymore. Detroit, if the playoffs started today, they're not even in it. So to me, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers are all kind of the 3 teams that I look at in the NFC, and I'm like, I think those are the 3 best teams in the NFC. They all play in the same division. I think those are the 3 teams that have real Super Bowl chances in the NFC. Philadelphia is in a total state of flux right now. And Sam Darnold beat the LA Rams last night. Doesn't mean he'll beat them again in the playoffs. Doesn't mean they'll beat the 49ers if they play them in the playoffs. But his LA Rams demons, which were real, last night he overcame them. And a lot of people are talking about the big game thing, and maybe that's a thing, but I just think it's the Rams. Darnold's won big games before. He won a big game last year in Minnesota against Green Bay at the end of the season when they hoisted him up on their shoulders in the locker room. I also love, too, everybody tells me Cam Ward is some great leader, or, oh, God, this guy, he's such a leader. And it's like, they were hoisting him up on their shoulders in the locker room. If that doesn't say, we love this guy as far as teammates are concerned, what does? So that was the second thing. He overcame the LA Rams demons in prime time on national TV in a game that everybody watched. I don't think it gets better than that. And number 3, he led a game-winning, had-to-have-it touchdown drive in both the fourth quarter and in overtime. And he hit on the subsequent 2-point conversion after throwing 2 insanely costly interceptions during the game. That is what big boy quarterbacks do. They make up for their mistakes. Years ago, when we were doing Jared and the GM, the Titans went on the road to San Diego, and Marcus Mariota threw a pick 6, and I think he threw another interception. And the old man said, Marcus cannot throw those interceptions, and the Titans win. And I said, but other quarterbacks throw interceptions and they win. He's like, and other quarterbacks are better. Tom Brady can throw an interception because Tom Brady can make up for it. Ben Roethlisberger can throw interceptions because Ben Roethlisberger makes up for it. Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Brett Favre, they all threw interceptions, and they threw a lot of them, but they could make up for it. You know as well as I do, if Ryan Tannehill threw one interception, maybe he could make up for it. If Ryan Tannehill did two things in a game that hurt the Titans, they weren't going to win. Ryan Tannehill didn't have to make all the plays to win the game, but Ryan Tannehill could not make the boneheaded mistake to lose them the game like he did against the Bengals. I never thought Sam Darnold was the type of quarterback who could overcome his mistakes. Like, I looked at Sam Darnold. Again, I never looked at Sam Darnold like Brady or Elway or Favre or Marino. I looked at Sam Darnold like Alex Smith. Again, that game manager quarterback who's better than people give him credit for and can throw for 350, but isn't going to throw for 350 every week and cannot hurt the club. And last night, he hurt the club. He threw two terrible interceptions, one that basically was a pick six, and the other when they were in the low red zone and they were getting ready to score. That is wiping away, as far as a swing is concerned, 14 points, at least. And yet he overcame them. That's what big boy quarterbacks do. You know, the greatest quarterbacking performance I've ever seen was Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons. That is the single best game I have ever seen a quarterback play. You do know Tom Brady threw a pick six in that game, right? Alford picked it off, ran it back, and Brady was running down, and he fell down on the ground, and that's what contributed to 28-3, was that Tom Brady threw a pick six in that game. But Tom Brady was so good in that game that it overcame that pick six and the other mistakes that were made in the course of that ballgame. Now, what's funny is, again, we go back to Darnold and we go back to Brady, and everybody will tell me that Sam Darnold got lucky last night because of the Fakakta rule and the 2-point conversion and because of the Rashid Shaheed touchdown return. Tom Brady doesn't win that Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons if Dante Hightower doesn't sack Matt Ryan and recover the football. So those things are important too. And Brady said after the game, like, we needed something that we could see and say, okay, get us back in the game. That's what the Shaheed return did. What Darnold did last night, leading a game-winning, have-to-have-it touchdown drive in the fourth quarter, and then leading a game-winning, have-to-have-it touchdown drive in overtime, and then hitting on the 2-point conversion after having thrown those two interceptions. That is what your high-end quarterbacks do. They might make a mistake, but they can make up for it. That's what he did last night. So Sam Darnold did three huge things last night for Seattle. Number one, he won a huge game with huge playoff implications against a quality opponent in which he did not play his best. The best he's capable of playing was that game he played against the Commanders on Sunday Night Football earlier in the year, where the guy looked like Greg Maddux painting the football. Number two, he overcame his own personal boogeyman, the LA Rams, because for whatever reason, Chris Shula and Sean McVay had his number. And number three, he led both a game-tying drive in the fourth quarter when they had to have it, and he led the game-winning drive in overtime, erasing the two interceptions, which, again, is what the high-end big boy quarterbacks do. Sam Darnold was awesome last night. I felt validated and vindicated in my Sam Darnold praise last night. And again, I said when Sam threw those interceptions, my phone went crazy. Just absolutely insane. And yet, at the same time, when it came to Sam Darnold's performance and he ended up winning the game, Twitter was a lot less quiet. Or excuse me, Twitter was a lot more quiet. I was surprised by that. It was like total crickets. It was just nothing but nothing. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, where did all you Sam haters go? What happened? And I laugh because you Cam boys, TDG, you will never admit it until 3 years down the road if Cam doesn't work out, or you will never admit it that the Titans made a major mistake by falling in love with the unknown and talked themselves, and you people talked yourselves into Cam Ward, a short, inaccurate quarterback without a single elite trait and bad mechanics, as opposed to Sam Darnold, a 28-year-old with a lot of talent who has already handled the development part of his career and come out on the other side, albeit with limitations, because he's not Josh Allen and he's not Mahomes, and I've never claimed that he was Joe Burrow. But you could have had a 28-year-old franchise quarterback who's already gone through the development part of his career, plus the giant picks. And every single week that Sam Darnold dispels the knocks that you people have levied against him, it's excuse after excuse. Sam Darnold was carried by Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison, Jared. He wouldn't have that here. Yeah? How are those guys doing in Minnesota this season? Oh, they're 6-8. You know what their record was the year before Sam Darnold got there? Before they won 14 games? 7-10. Again, this is simple cause and effect here. Sam Darnold can't win a big game, Jared. Really? Because in 2024, he beat Green Bay at the end of the year. He didn't beat Detroit. And he didn't win in the playoffs. But he's not the only quarterback to lose games in the playoffs before. And then last night, again, big game, he beat the best team in the NFL in overtime. He can't win the big game, Jared. Uh-huh. Sam Darnold will fold in the playoffs, Jared. I know. Maybe. We shall see. Last year was not pretty against the LA Rams in the playoffs. Again, I said I think it's probably cost him 50, 60 million bucks. But Lamar Jackson loses games in the playoffs too. Josh Allen loses games in the playoffs. Justin Herbert has never won a game in the playoffs. And if the LA Rams had called last year, the LA Chargers, if the LA Chargers had called last year and said, we will offer Justin Herbert for the number 1 pick, you all would have taken it. And they should have taken it. Not that the Chargers would ever do that. But Justin Herbert's never won a playoff game. Justin Herbert's 0-2 in the playoffs. Dak won't even make the playoffs this year. And all those quarterbacks, Allen and Lamar and Herbert and Dak, those are all $50 and $60 million quarterbacks. Sam Darnold makes $37 million. But yeah, keep telling me I'm stupid because I was banging the table for a guy who is capable, a guy who, if you give a decent team to, which is what Seattle was before Sam got there, they were decent. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They were decent. If you give him a decent team, he is capable of competing. And when you figure out that you would have signed him and then you would have had the extra picks from the Giants instead of the guy that is your quarterback who is dead last in QBR in the NFL and thinks he is entitled to pick the next coach of the team, you would have a much better ball club than a 2-12 football team. And we wouldn't be sitting here talking about who needs to lose on top of them in order to hope, just hope, that they can get the number 1 pick. So yeah, I was right. You people were wrong, and the Titans were wrong. Again, somebody with the Titans told me, if you had Sam Darnold, even if you built the team right around Sam Darnold, you'd still run into the top quarterbacks in the playoffs. That, again, when Andy Reid was in Kansas City, they'd run into the same problem every time, which is they'd sit there and say, gosh, we get into the playoffs and we run into Roethlisberger and we run into Brady And we run into these great quarterbacks, and we've got to get a guy that can beat them because Alex can't do it. And I'm not one to sit there and tell you that Sam, in a normal year, could go through the AFC playoffs, which, again, that's what the Titans would be in, that Sam would be able to every year go through Allen and Mahomes and Lamar and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. But he just went through Matthew Stafford last night. He beat him. San Francisco has a quarterback, Brock Purdy. I don't think Brock Purdy can beat Brady and Roethlisberger consistently, but they're going to try. Again, my thing was sign Sam and build the team, and then when you're ready, go after the quarterback the way Buffalo went after Allen after they had made the playoffs, the way that Kansas City went after Mahomes after they had made the playoffs. And then transition it from a 31-year-old Sam Darnold into whoever the next guy that you love is. No, Cam. He's the guy. Darnold has limitations. Cam, he can be Mahomes. Right, and he also can be Achilles Smith. Sam Darnold constantly proves the haters wrong. I saw this, and so did Gentry Estes at the Tennessean. I saw this at the end of the 2022 season when he quarterbacked Carolina to a 4-2 record and had a higher QBR than Aaron Rodgers. And that same Carolina team with Christian McCaffrey was 1-5 with Baker Mayfield playing quarterback. And Baker Mayfield's pretty good. Sam was better. And apparently nobody else other than Gentry and I saw this. I actually told Sam Darnold at the Super Bowl. I told him, I said, hey, man, you kicked ass last year. And he had to settle to be a backup in San Francisco. Wins 14 games in Minnesota. That's not good enough. No, we need the undersized, inaccurate quarterback out of Miami who didn't even make the ACC championship game because Sam Darnold lost in the playoffs. Foolish. That decision has already gotten Brian Callahan fired. That decision, I think, is ultimately going to get Mike Borgonzi fired, and it's going to get Chad Brinker fired. Speaking of quarterbacks, I was thinking about this after last night's game. Where, if we were just to rank the quarterbacks right now, where would Sam Darnold rank? Where would all these guys rank? Again, we're talking about right now. So I went through the top 10 quarterbacks in the league today, and I don't have Joe Burrow on the list, even though I absolutely think Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback because this year Burrow's been hurt, and Burrow has not played like a top 10 quarterback. So here's the list I came up with. Number 1, Josh Allen. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Number 2, Matthew Stafford. I know they lost yesterday, but I think Stafford is playing some great football. I mean, Stafford is just so sexy to watch out there. Just smooth and just flick of the wrist 40 yards down the field, and it's accurate, and I love him. Number 3, Drake May. I think Drake May might be the second coming of Aaron Rodgers. Number 4, Justin Herbert, who has had a great season in spite of the fact that he's got no receivers and his offensive line has been completely gutted. Number 5, Patrick Mahomes. Now, Mahomes is probably a little bit lower because Mahomes got hurt, but I still think I got to put him top 5. And when I watched the Chiefs play this year, I saw the same Mahomes and just a terrible team around Mahomes outside of Creed Humphreys. Number 6, Lamar Jackson. Number 7, Dak Prescott. Dak is a tough one to analyze because Dak will go out there and put up 400 yards every week, and yet the Cowboys are going to end up 9-8 or 8-9. And at some point for $60 million, Dak needs to start winning some football games. Number 8, Sam Darnold. I do wonder how last night affected the chances of Sam winning the MVP. Number 9, Caleb Williams. Had a good season this year in Chicago. Number 10, Jordan Love. So as of right now, personally, I think Sam Darnold is the 8th best quarterback in the NFL. Will Cam Ward ever be the 8th best quarterback in the NFL? Not very likely. But you guys were too good for the 8th best quarterback in the NFL because Cam Ward was so good because he was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. Got it. I also think that's kind of crazy. Now, I want to get to the playoff game tonight. Alabama, Oklahoma. So the college football playoff kicks off tonight. It's so weird. I'm so not used to the big college football games, like the big ones, the juicy ones, the ones that actually matter for the playoffs. I am so not used to these games being before Christmas. And I know they were before Christmas last year, and this is the new reality of the 12-team playoff as opposed to the 14 playoff, but it's just a little weird for an old guy like me. So, Oklahoma, Alabama tonight, 7 o'clock. By the way, I will be watching a game around town with one Caroline Fenton, who's in town. We're having my son's birthday party tomorrow. She and Dylan are coming in town for that. So again, OU, Alabama tonight, 7 o'clock. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., Miami, Texas A&M. And then again, and I'll get to these in a second, but the two who cares games. Tulane, Ole Miss, James Madison, Oregon. Now, if one of those teams wins, then it goes from a who cares to holy shit, but they're not going to, so whatever. And I'll get to them in a second. I have no dog in the fight when it comes to the college football playoff. My team, Louisville, not in it. The local teams, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, not in it. There is not a school that I hate that is in it. Will Stein, my buddy, the offensive coordinator at Oregon, has already taken the Kentucky job. So it's not like I'm watching this hoping that Will Stein does well so that he can get a head coaching job, because he already has. There isn't even a coach in this playoff that I can't stand, the way I can't stand James Franklin. So if Georgia wins, or if A&M wins, or if Ohio State wins, or if Oregon wins, or if Indiana wins, great. I have no dog in the fight, but I will watch, just like I think most of you will. But there is one dog in the fight that I do have tonight, between Alabama and A&M. I think as a Titan fan, you and I need Ty Simpson to play well tonight. Because I heard Jordan Rodgers talking about this earlier this week. Ty Simpson could play really well in these playoffs and end up as the third pick in the draft. He also could play the way that Ty Simpson has played, unfortunately, for a lot of the season, and end up going back to college. And as we know, the likely scenario is that the Tennessee Titans are going to be picking third in the draft. And my gut tells me, even though what I was told was Mendoza's going to go back to school, my gut tells me Mendoza's going to go to the league. So it's going to be, excuse me, I said Mendoza, Dante Moore. Dante Moore is going to go pro. Even though I've been told he's not going to, I think he is. So that would mean two quarterbacks if Ty Simpson goes back to school. Mendoza, who's going to go number one, and Dante Moore, who would go number two. And then you would be picking number three, and nobody would want to trade. And that would go through me like a knife. I would be so sad if that ended up happening. So as a Titan fan, I want Ty Simpson to play his ass off in these college football playoffs and then declare for the draft and be the clear QB3. Because as we learned last year with Cam Ward, once people think you might be a first-round quarterback, they'll push you up the draft board just because they need to pick a quarterback, not because you have Drake May's talent. And that's where a lot of teams fuck up, including you, that I think did by taking Cam. But now you need to take advantage of that same issue that allowed you to trade back out of the first pick when people didn't think Jared Goff was that good. But LA needed a quarterback, and they were desperate, and so you were able to make the trade, and you got Jack Conklin, Corey Davis, Derrick Henry, and Jonnu Smith out of it. The Titans need Ty Simpson to play well. But it is pretty crazy. In these playoffs, I'm not a big Ohio State guy, so I wouldn't mind seeing them lose. And if Will Stein wants to win a national title, I'll be happy for him. But there is not a team in this playoff that I am 100% behind or 100% against. But I am excited. I'm excited for the two games that matter. Alabama, Oklahoma tonight, A&M, Miami tomorrow. I wish A&M and Miami was tonight, but they're going to put Alabama on in primetime. I get it. I also love the fact that with 2 NFL games tomorrow, ESPN has sold those who gives a crap games, James Madison, Tulane. They have sold them to TNT. They're like, here, you guys go ahead and air those. We're not going up against the Bears and the Packers. And I do want to touch on this because I've seen Nick Saban whining and crying about the fact that James Madison and Tulane are in the playoffs, essentially saying, I mean, would we take a AAA baseball team and put them into the playoffs? Number one, you know the rules. So going into the year, we all knew the rules. And the rules were the group of 5 teams get a crack at the playoffs. Whether that's Boise State or that undefeated UCF team from a couple of years ago or the Cincinnati team that did make the 4-team playoff, the group of 5 gets a team every year. And I don't have a problem with that because even though I do think Alabama would have beaten Central Florida in 2017, I don't know that because Central Florida didn't lose and Central Florida did beat Auburn and Central Florida had a great team that year. So I'd like to give them a chance. The second thing is, I don't care that James Madison's going to get blown out. That's not James Madison's fault. That's the ACC's fault for having a really weak conference this year. And I say this as somebody who is a fan of an ACC team. I don't look at my school not being in the playoff and think to myself, oh man, it's such a shame that James Madison is in the playoff. I look at myself and say, we lost as a 3-touchdown favorite against Cal. We lost at Clemson at home on Friday night when we had the game in hand. And we dicked around and lost to Virginia when we shouldn't have in double overtime. That's our fault. That's not the system's fault. That's not James Madison's fault. And I understand if you're a Vanderbilt or a Notre Dame being a little bit upset, but again, you know the rules. Don't like it? Go to James Madison's conference. Oh, you don't want to do that? Okay. So I'm just so tired of this. Oh, why do we have to have these schools in the playoffs? These are the rules we made. These are the rules we made when Nick Saban got into the playoffs and an undefeated Central Florida didn't get into the playoffs because we only had 4 teams. And we said when we go to 12, it'll be more fair. In fact, the fairness of the 12-team playoff, I think, is a direct reflection of Nick Saban because Nick Saban got the benefit of the doubt both in 2017 when Alabama went as the 4th seed and ended up winning the title, and in 2023, Saban's last year, when they went in over an undefeated Power 5 Florida State team, which still makes no sense to me, but my son would not be here if it wasn't for that, so salute. Okay, 6-pack picks. Not a good week for us last week. Again, 2-4. We are currently 40-55 on the season. I mean, I think I might have to hit every single pick the rest of the year, including the playoffs and the college football playoffs and the Super Bowl and everything in order to break even. This has been a very, very ugly year in 6-pack picks. That said, let's get right to it. College football playoff. I thought we were actually going to pick all 4 games, but we'll skip the Tulane and James Madison games. Bama, Oklahoma, 7 o'clock tonight. Oklahoma -1.5. I'm going to pick Oklahoma. And I'm going to pick Oklahoma. I don't like Oklahoma's team. I actually think if Oklahoma and Vanderbilt met on a neutral field, I would pick Vanderbilt to win. But I'm going to pick Oklahoma tonight. And the reason I'm going to pick Oklahoma tonight is I just don't think Alabama's very good. It's like they feel like they're Alabama light or Alabama zero sugar. They have the Alabama helmets, the Alabama logos. They have good players. They can play well, but they're just not good, and they're not consistently good the way that Nick Saban had Alabama playing. I'll take Oklahoma. And boy, Kalen DeBoer will be in some shit if they lose the SEC title game the way they did, and then they lose tonight. Tomorrow, Miami A&M, 11 a.m. ABC. A&M is a 3-point favorite. I'll pick A&M, and I'm going to pick A&M. Not only are they at home, but I just don't think Miami's very good. I've watched a lot of Miami this year. Again, I'm an ACC fan. I would not have put Miami into the playoff. I think I would have put them in over Notre Dame, but I think Vanderbilt, again, I would have put in the playoff over Miami. I think they had a better resume than Miami. Miami got in because they're an ACC school, and they were the best ACC school this year. I think A&M wins. I think A&M wins handedly. I'll lay the 3. I feel pretty comfortable about that. Okay, Saturday night, 7:20, Fox. Green Bay at Chicago. Chicago is a 1.5-point favorite. I will take Chicago. Not only is the game at home, Green Bay is dealing with the Micah Parsons injury. And while I don't think that is that crippling, you start to look at the Green Bay roster and you say, okay, who are their star players? Micah Parsons is out. Tucker Kraft, the tight end, is out. They have offensive line injuries. Chicago is rolling under Ben Johnson. They're at home. It's a 1.5-point spread, essentially a pick 'em. I will take the Bears. Give me the Bears minus 1.5. 3:05 on Fox. Who thought this game was going to matter? Jacksonville at Denver on Sunday. Denver is a 3.5-point favorite. Give me Denver. I haven't liked Denver at all this season, and I think Liam Cohen is not getting enough credit for how he has done so far this year with the Jags turning them around. And this is a big kind of prove-it game for Jacksonville. But I am going to go with Denver. Denver's defense, Bo Nix is playing well. I don't think Denver's going to ruin the 1 seed. I'll take Denver minus 3.5. Okay. The great Mike Vrabel has been flexed in to Sunday Night Football. New England at Baltimore, 7:20 NBC. Baltimore is a 3-point favorite. Give me the Patriots. I think the Patriots, you know how Vrabel is. They got embarrassed in the second half last week against Buffalo. He's been up their ass all week, and I just don't think Baltimore's very good. I just can't put my finger on it, why I don't think Baltimore's very good, but I just don't think Baltimore's very good. They've got Lamar Jackson. They've got Derrick Henry. They've got their tight ends that I like. You know, kind of the squad that they've been good with for a while. And yet I talk about Alabama feeling like Alabama zero sugar. I think these are the Baltimore Ravens zero sugar. I think New England delivers the knockout punch to Baltimore. I don't think we'll see Baltimore in the playoffs. Give me the Patriots. I think that I will take the 3 points. Plus, I think they win outright. And then the meaningless game of the week. Kansas City at Tennessee, noon CBS. Kansas City minus 3. I'm picking the Titans. I think Kansas City is going to throw in the towel. I think the Titans are going to look at this as an opportunity to feel good about themselves and say, we beat the Chiefs. Kansas City is a 3-point favorite. I'll go Titans 24, Kansas City 60. I think the Titans win. That's it for us, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the college football playoff. Enjoy the NFL. If you're going to be with family, enjoy your family time and so on and so forth. We will be live on Sunday after the game. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Post-game live. Stillman and Company right here on the 440 Sports Network. We will see everybody after the game on Sunday.